welcome. ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Tuesday, the 18th of April. Good to have you aboard. Of course, we are a Blue Wire podcast presented as always by Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys. 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. If you're involved in an accident, you call 911 first, and then you get an attorney on the phone immediately when you call Anidjar and Levine. Nothing on ZASLOW Show 2.0 would be possible without my guys at Anidjar and Levine. So I'm sending you to the best if you end up having an accident, God forbid. Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys. 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. The drama has officially begun in the NBA playoffs. You gotta have controversy. That's how you know the NBA playoffs have started. And we got controversy. Last night, Draymond Green, Domantas Sabonis, Warriors, Kings. We got the drama. We're gonna do a lot of NBA today. The Heat, they're back in action tomorrow. They're gonna take an extra day off. I don't know why. No, actually, I do know why. Because the NBA has to spread out all these games. God forbid they have multiple games going on at one time. So the Heat and Bucks will reconvene tomorrow night. That's obviously beneficial for the Bucks because it gets Giannis an extra day's rest. Now, Giannis, the MRIs, X-rays, all that stuff, everything came back negative. So he should be good to go. But an extra day there, clearly beneficial for the Bucks. You would think an extra day would come with a travel day. Not just an extra day where both teams are sitting and chilling in Milwaukee. So they'll play again tomorrow, not tonight. And then you get another extra day with the travel. They'll play game 3 on Saturday night. So a lot of time in between games here. We'll get to the Heat today, of course. The Panthers last night, they go down 0-1 in the first round series with one of the all-time great regular season teams, the Boston Bruins. Can't say you're surprised. It would have been a shock if both. I mean, one doesn't have anything to do with the other, but it'd have been a shock if both the Heat, the 8th seed, win at the 1 seed, take a 1-0 series lead, and the Panthers, the 8th seed, win at the 1 seed, take a 1-0 series lead. You're asking for too much. Don't be greedy, all right? And hey, I could say this for both. The Heat tomorrow night is going to be super tough. I mean, you want to go up 2-0, winning both games in Milwaukee? Now, granted, the Heat went up 2-0, remember, against Milwaukee in the bubble, and I don't think those were technically road games. I think they were technically home games. The Heat were the 2 seed that year, I believe. Maybe they were the 3. But nonetheless, you went up 2-0 on Milwaukee. Who cares who was considered the home team, who was considered the road team? You're in the bubble. Going up 2-0 at the Bucks. So tomorrow's I'm going to say it's a must-win game for the Bucks because it's not like the Bucks can't win on the road. It's not like the Bucks can't win in Miami, but the Heat already did what they came to do. You know, I said to my son going into the games, like, oh, the Heat, they're gonna get smashed by the Bucks. Like, all right, you got 2 games. You got to win one of these 2. That's the goal. Get one of the 2. Now, I don't think that means that the Heat don't go into game 2. They don't go into game 2 hungry, or they don't go into game 2 still understanding the stakes. But I do think there's a human nature element involved where, yeah, they got what they came there to do. They have now made it a series no matter what. When the road team wins one of those first 2 games and essentially steals the home court advantage, we know that we got a series now. But it's human nature where realistically you want to get 1 out of 2 in Milwaukee. Are you going to get the same effort from the Heat tomorrow night? I hope so. I mean, we've seen this Heat team where, like I said, in the bubble, you know, they went up 2-0 against Boston that year. They went up 3-0 against Milwaukee. But when you're playing on the road, it's a little bit different. I think you're getting a major effort out of Milwaukee tomorrow night. I think if the Heat can hang around into the fourth quarter, then you got something. Would I be surprised if Milwaukee just blitzes the Heat tomorrow night? No, I would not. The Heat's goal, you stay within 8-9 points going into the fourth quarter. You see what you could do. If you can hang around going into the final period, all right, maybe we got something. I got a poll question out today on the Heat. Actually, I got a couple poll questions going on with the Heat. We'll get to that coming up. Before we get to the NBA, before we get back to the Panthers here. So I saw this online yesterday. This is wild to me. And I may have been 24 hours late. But I got to bring this up with you guys. You can always, hey, make sure you like, you rate, you comment, however you're listening to the show. I always appreciate that. By the way, I had one of our pals on Instagram. You can hit me up at ZASLOWJ on Instagram, at ZASLOW Show on Twitter. And one of the great ZASLOW Show 2.0 listeners, he sent me a message yesterday. And, hey, ZASLOW, love the show. What's more beneficial to you? I like watching the show on YouTube. What's more beneficial, watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast? And I was really grateful that he asked that because I get to tell him, and it also gives me an opportunity to tell you guys. The podcast is most important, first and foremost. Look, I want you to get the content, period. But if you're asking me which would I rather you experience ZASLOW Show 2.0, the podcast is most important. And I don't post the whole show on the YouTube channel, specifically because I want you to get some of this. All interviews go on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@ZASLOW Show. But I don't post all of the show because I want you to get all of the show on the podcast. But it's on the YouTube channel. Some of you like to look at your boy. You want to see this, put him in action. You want to see how the hands move around all show? All right, so I'm giving it to you, you know? But if you want to know what's most important is the podcast. So I was grateful that our pal asked that. Now, I saw this yesterday, and I saw it on Twitter. And like I said, I think I was like 24 hours late to it. But hit me up at ZASLOW Show, although there was a lot of interaction. Very polarizing topic on Twitter over the last couple of days. So, the Miami Marlins. No, I'm not leading the show talking about the Marlins. The Miami Marlins have a former relief pitcher called Anthony Bass. He pitches for Toronto now. And he sent out a tweet with a picture attached. The flight attendant at United Airlines just made my 22-week pregnant wife traveling with a 5-year-old and 2-year-old get on her hands and knees to pick up the popcorn mess made by my youngest daughter. Are you kidding me? And there's a picture of his 2 lovely daughters. They're very young. They're sitting in their chairs, and there's a mess of popcorn underneath them. Again, let me read it to you. The reaction was very polarizing. The flight attendant at United just made my 22-week pregnant wife traveling with a 5-year-old and 2-year-old get on her hands and knees to pick up the popcorn mess by my youngest daughter. Are you kidding me? The level of entitlement in this tweet, to me, is wild. Absolutely wild. First of all, the whole United just made my wife, they can't make you do anything. That's for one. They're not making you, you're not being forced to do anything on these flights. That for one is certainly not true. Number 2, I don't know what it's like to be pregnant, but I have a wife who's been pregnant twice, so I know a little bit about pregnancy, and I could tell you, 22 weeks pregnant, you're barely showing. You're halfway through the pregnancy, you got a bump. It ain't that big. Like, maybe she's a high risk, I don't know. But you don't have this massive belly that you can't move around. 22 weeks, you're barely starting to show it like 18, all right? 18, remember, 18 is when you start telling people that you're pregnant. And you have to, and if you have to tell people that you're pregnant, you're probably not showing that much. It ain't that big a thing. She's not big at 22 weeks. She can clean up after her kids. And that brings us to the most important part, right? The fact that he felt this was something, and I would say like 99% of people who saw this tweet and got involved in this discussion / argument are very much on the side of United Airlines. And think about that. The airline industry today is such a shit show. For the grand majority of people to be on the side of the airline as opposed to the other side, which involves a pregnant woman and 2 little kids, do you know how how much your gauge must have been off when he put this message out? He sent this message out thinking everyone is going to agree that my wife and children who make a mess should be cleaned up after, which is wild to have that sense of entitlement. His children made a mess. It's not that big a mess. It's really not. But his children made a mess in a public place and is mad that people are not cleaning up after his kids. What kind of entitlement is that? He's mad that his kids are making a mess and are not being cleaned up after by strangers. That's crazy. And then you get some of the response where it's like, do you always clean up after the mess you make at the movie theater? And now my response to that is, yeah. When I make a mess in the movie theater, now first of all, I'm not spilling popcorn everywhere at the movie theater because I'm an adult. But I take my garbage with me when I leave the movie theater. Of course I do. Why wouldn't I? Now, there are people who come in the movie theater and clean up the stuff that's on the floor, like piece of popcorn or what have you. But I absolutely clean up my garbage after myself when I'm at the movie theater. If I'm at a sporting event, I pick up my garbage. We eat a pizza. I'm done with it. I'll carry it out with me. I put it in the trash at the top of the steps there. Yeah. Any scenario I can, I clean up after myself. I certainly am not going to complain to the public that someone else is not cleaning up my mess. That's a crazy sense of entitlement. And like I said, she's not 36 weeks pregnant. She's 22 weeks pregnant. You're barely you're showing a little bit at this point. You're in that phase. Look, when a woman's pregnant, she could have the biggest belly. She could look like she's ready to pop. I don't acknowledge it. I don't even look down at your belly until you bring it up. I don't acknowledge women that are pregnant. I'm not getting caught in that trap that I say congratulations. Oh, for what? Oh, shit. I don't do that. I can see out of the corner of my eye a woman's water looks like it's going to break. I don't acknowledge pregnancies. At 22 weeks, people can easily not even see you're pregnant. But also, hey, if you're well enough to travel, because you get to a certain point when you're pregnant, the doctor tells you not to travel anymore. It's usually around probably around 7 months. But here, she's maybe 5 months we're talking about here. If you're well enough to travel, you have to also be well enough to clean up your mess. But this idea, he's trying to get someone fired at United. He's trying to get a flight attendant at United fired for not cleaning up after his kids. It's crazy. And he's predictably, if you're a rational person, I consider myself a rational person, he's getting destroyed on social media. His responses to these people, to regular people, tweeting at him. And then eventually it ended with him tweeting that, thank you everyone for the support. I don't think he's getting a lot of support, so I'm not quite sure who he's talking to. Thank you everyone for the support. United Airlines is taking care of matters with the flight attendant internally. Okay, good. I'm glad to get the update that someone's getting fired because they wouldn't clean up the mess your kids made. That's crazy. That's crazy. And the only reason I even gave it a look yesterday was Anthony Bass. Hey, he pitched for the Marlins last year, which of course he did. Really wild. Just, I mean, can you imagine, man? And it's not like, it's not like you make a mess at the restaurant. At the restaurant, you have busboys. Their job is specifically to clean up the mess, to clean the floors, to wipe everything down, all that stuff. That is their job. The stewardesses, the flight attendants, they're going to clean stuff, but that's not their job. They walk around with the garbage bag, you put your cup in it, but their job is not to be janitor. Their job is definitely not clean up after children who make a mess. But just the idea that he thought, he was so sure that someone should be cleaning up after his kids, that he's trying to get this person, this flight attendant, fired by being a professional athlete who has almost 30,000 followers, going to Twitter and letting everybody know how awful this flight attendant is who would not clean up his kid's mess. That's some kind of entitlement. That guy's an asshole. I don't know the other way to put it. Dude's an asshole. So hit me up at ZASLOW Show if you feel differently, or I guess if you feel the same, whatever. Hey, you guys know what it is. ZASLOW Show 2.0, one of our biggest sponsors, the official beer of ZASLOW Show 2.0, everybody knows, is Johnny Cuba. I love Johnny Cuba, man. The only thing I hate about Johnny Cuba is when I finish my six-pack, I got to get in the car and go get another six-pack. I wish I had a Johnny Cuba tree in my backyard where I grew six-packs of Johnny. Johnny Cuba, European roots with a Caribbean soul, a refreshing German lager in a can. You can pick up another six-pack at your local Sedano's, Presidente with Dixie Fresco y Mas. You know about that Johnny Cuba Picante hot sauce. They got a rub. My man Juan has got a rub coming out soon as well. I'll tell you about that. Johnny Cuba, of course, their mantra, I practically live my life by it. Stay tranquilo. Tomorrow night, though, for the Heat game and Panther game. Panthers are 7:30, Heat is 9. If you're looking for something delicious to help you enjoy the game, obviously I recommend another six-pack of Johnny Cuba. So, against the Panthers in a second here, let's talk NBA. We got the controversy. Now you know the NBA playoffs are in full force. When you got the drama, you got the controversy. This is what it's made of. This is what the NBA playoffs are all about. The drama is in full force. So let's start with the boring. The boring is the Sixers and the Nets. Sixers win last night. They go up 2-0, 96-84. I think the final was a low-scoring game. I like those low-scoring playoff games. Everybody knows that. Obviously, it's looking like that's going to be a short series now. I had a hard time picking this series. I was going with either Sixers in 4 or Sixers in 7. I ultimately went Sixers in 7 because I feel like my distrust of the Sixers is so high. I don't think I don't think the Nets are any good, but I also don't trust the Sixers. Ultimately, I went with, I don't trust the Sixers more than I think the Nets are shitty. So I went Sixers in 7. It's looking like the other way around because the only way this series was going to be a 7-game series was if the Nets got one of the first 2. Then you could see all right, I could see them splitting the next 2. Now we're 2-2. We're headed towards 7. It's looking like it's going to be 4 now, maybe 5. But I think the takeaway right now, and the Sixers are certainly going to win this series, but I think the takeaway right now is James Harden's terrible. He's terrible. He cannot score around the rim anymore. Missing layups everywhere. He can't get to the basket. And he doesn't take any, he can't score around the rim, and he's not getting those bullshit foul calls anymore. Took 0 free throws last night. He can still shoot, but he cannot get to the rim. And when that threat of him getting to the rim is not there anymore, they're going to be able to defend him better around the perimeter. He cannot score around the basket. He sucks. And if you think this version of James Harden, which looks very similar to the version of James Harden the Heat saw in the playoffs last year and took that ass. If you think that Sixer team is going to get out of the second round, you're very wrong. Embiid has never been out of the second round. He will not get out of the second round this year either. They will lose to Boston, right? It's Boston, second round? No, I'm sorry. Second round, it would be the winner of Milwaukee and the Heat. Oh, no. Milwaukee was somewhere. I'm sorry. It would be Boston in the second, because Boston's on their way to sweeping Atlanta. They'll go up 2-0 tonight. They will not beat Boston. They will not come close. That will be a short series against the Celtics. Like, Celtics in 5 max. So the Sixers are looking like they're going to cruise through this first round because even though James Harden is terrible, Embiid's amazing. He falls on the floor every time he's touched. Remember how Shaq used to fall on the floor every time he was touched? Oh, no, wait. Falls on the floor every time he's touched. It's obnoxious. But they're going to cruise through the Nets because the Nets are shitty. Harden, though, is terrible. I didn't watch a ton of this game last night because obviously I was dialed into the Panthers. But what I did see, and obviously what I saw from game number 1, I'm telling you, the Sixer team's fugazi. You're going to win a lot of regular season games when you have the MVP of the league, Joel Embiid. But then you get to the playoffs, and you're playing good teams, and I do not believe the Nets are a good team, but you get to the playoffs and you're playing good teams, you're not going to go very far when you only have Embiid. Now, Tyrese Maxey's great, but in order for this team to be a championship contending team, you need a James Harden to be better than, terrible. So, Sixers go up 2-0. The big story, though, was the second game. The Sacramento Kings are up 2-0 on the Golden State Warriors. You love to see it. You had drama in game number 1 where you got E40. Not going to lie, never heard of him before this incident. You got E40 who was thrown out because he was standing in the front row. You're not allowed to stand. Now, when I say front row, he was standing on the floor seats. You're not allowed to stand on the floor seats. He was likely warned once or twice. He decided he's still not going to sit down. He got thrown out. He claims it's because he was black and he was having discourse with a white woman. Although I think like the entire crowd in Sacramento is white. But nonetheless, you got the drama with E40 in the first game. And now this game, you got the drama with the drama king, Draymond Green. Draymond Green was ejected from the game last night. So, the Kings go up 2-0. This was a great game. Matter of fact, the Warriors were playing great. Once Draymond got ejected, I think it was early in the fourth quarter, Kings took over. Kings took over there. They end up, I think both teams scored the same amount in the fourth quarter, but the Kings were much better the rest of the way when Draymond Green got ejected. So, here's what happened if you didn't see it. Now, you got to remember, Draymond, this has happened already in this series. Last game, Draymond Green, he got tangled up with Sabonis. Sabonis was on the ground. Draymond Green decided to sit on him. And then he falls again and sits on him again, and then eventually gets up. So now this game, earlier in the game, Domantas Sabonis got hit in the jaw. Okay, happens. Draymond Green gets tied up. Well, Sabonis falls. Now they're behind the play. Draymond Green is like, his feet are tangled up with him. And here's where the controversy lies. Was Sabonis grabbing? No, he didn't grab with his hands. He grabbed with his arms, like locked him. Was Sabonis grabbing Draymond Green's leg? Or was he protecting his face because he got hit in the jaw earlier? A case can be made for both. Sabonis claims he was protecting his face and Draymond's leg got caught. I personally don't believe, I personally think it's both. I think he was protecting his face and Draymond's leg was right there and he's like, let me grab this for a second and make sure he can't get back on defense because I can't get back on defense. I'm on the ground. These NBA players, they're the greatest athletes in the world. They have incredible control of their body. They know exactly what they're doing. So I think it was both. I think Sabonis was protecting his face, and I think he also decided, let me get a piece of his leg right here. Now, does that mean the proportionate response from Draymond Green is to use Seth Rollins' finishing maneuver and stomp Domantas Sabonis? I would say that's not a proportionate response. So what's likely going to wind up happening here is, I believe Draymond Green is going to be suspended. We'll get back to that in a second. But Draymond Green, he stomps him in the chest. Referee comes over, stops the play. They review. Sabonis gets a technical foul, so the officials clearly believe that Sabonis grabbed him on purpose. I think it was both. I think he was protecting his face and grabbed him on purpose. And they give Draymond a very obvious flagrant 2, because, unless you're Christian Laettner, you're not allowed to stomp players. It's a good reference, right? Okay, 30 years ago. So Draymond gets ejected, and then you have just such nonsense. It's the best crowd in the league right now. Those games in Sacramento. Golden One Center. It's not Golden Corral Center. I think it's called Golden One Center. It's not Golden Graham Center. Amber Wilson once made that mistake. Crowd's going crazy. And Draymond decides he's going to stand up on the Warriors bench and egg on the crowd, yell at the crowd. He's yelling back. They're going crazy. He's yelling at them. Let me ask you something. Since Draymond Green was yelling all kinds of obscenities being picked up by the cameras at the crowd, there are probably kids in the crowd. He's calling some of them pussies. Yeah, pussy. Yeah, pussy. You could easily see it in his face. Is Draymond Green's wife going to take to social media again, like she did last year, and go on an entire rant of how rude it is and how obscene it is for the crowd? Back then it was Boston. And I'm not trying to defend the Boston crowd, but how rude and obscene it is, and out of line to use the language like saying, F you, Draymond. It's very unbecoming. So she had to write a whole post on Instagram. Is she going? Maybe I haven't seen it yet. It's been about 12 hours since the game ended. Has she written a post about Draymond's language toward the paying customer? I haven't seen that post yet. Maybe that's on me. Full disclosure, I don't follow his wife on Instagram or on any kind of social media. Has Draymond Green's wife posted yet about Draymond's language being inappropriate? What's fair is fair, right? There may be some virgin ears who were around Draymond. If you're going to yell obscenities like that, and it's very offensive to Draymond's wife, I'm looking forward. Maybe I didn't see it yet. Has she chastised Draymond for his language on social media yet? I don't know. We'll see. But there's always a lot of hypocrisy. Everybody knows that. So Draymond, and you can go see the video. It's crazy person behavior. And this is why they're going to suspend him. Because he's out of control. The year started with him punching out his teammate. And now in the playoffs, he's stomping opponents. And the interaction and the discourse with the crowd, it's not normal. There's something wrong with him. It's not normal behavior. They're going to suspend him. Because if they don't suspend him, very early on in the playoffs, you are setting a precedent that you can behave like a maniac. And the fact that it comes right at the start of the playoffs gives the NBA perfect incentive to end this right here. We are not behaving this way. You can't stop your opponent. And then also, it shouldn't factor in the behavior toward the fans, but it's Draymond Green. It's all encompassing. It's reputation based. Yeah, that's right. It is reputation based. Now, you got the softest commissioner in all of sports, Adam Silver. So maybe he's afraid of Draymond Green. He's afraid of upsetting the players. And he's not going to, because he's super afraid of the players. And he's not going to suspend him. Well, while the commissioner certainly has say, Joe Dumars, and I forget what his title is, but Joe Dumars is the one who hands out the punishments in this case. It's kind of like when the assistant principal at the school, they're the ones who hand out punishments, not the principal. The principal can have their say. They're in charge. But the assistant principal is kind of is in charge of that. That's like here. Adam Silver has say. He's in charge. But this is Joe Dumars' job to rule on this. And I would be surprised if Draymond Green is not suspended. Now, Draymond Green, of course, in the post-game press conference, does the whole second time I've had my leg grabbed. Referees don't do anything about it. Okay. Your leg was grabbed. Let's say it has been grabbed twice. Okay. Agree, Draymond. You don't then get to stomp on the player. Like, you're not going to look at it and say, okay, he punched out a guy. Yeah, but he grabbed my leg. All right, but you punched out a guy. It's not a proportionate response. It doesn't matter what he did. You're still not allowed to do the thing that you did. Okay, he grabbed your leg. He received a technical foul. You don't then also get to stop. You don't get to make the rules up. So it doesn't matter. Like, Draymond Green afterward posted a still image on Instagram. So yeah, this is a basketball play. And, Sabonis has got his arms wrapped around Draymond's leg. You're right. It's not a basketball play. And then you stomped on him. And you're going to get suspended. Now, Sabonis after the game is claiming he was protecting his face. I think it's both with Sabonis. I think he was protecting his face, and he was also close enough to Draymond's leg where it's like, let me grab onto this right quick, so then both of us can't get back. He can't get onto offense, I can't get back onto defense. He's going to be suspended, Draymond. And to be down 0-2, and again, Draymond Green acting a fool is going to cost his team this series. Because without Draymond, they could totally go down 0-3. And then you're done. And it's over. It's over. And it'll be for the second time in his career he costs his team a series. The first time, an all-time blunder where he picked up a technical foul in the 2016 finals when, in Game 4 when the Warriors were about to go up 3-1. He wasn't suspended for his actions in that game with LeBron. He was suspended because they gave him a technical foul for his actions with LeBron, and he was over the threshold because he picks up 1 million technical fouls, and he gets the automatic suspension for Game 5, and of course it leads to Game 6 and 7. Warriors lose all 3, all-time collapse. Draymond cost them what would have been 4 straight NBA Finals wins. He's going to cost them this series again now. Now, the next game I don't believe is till Thursday. So we probably won't find out today. We'll likely find out tomorrow. But I think he gets suspended. I think he should be suspended. He's out of control. And just the idea that, yeah, this is a bad, okay, he grabbed your leg. You don't then get to stomp on the player. It doesn't matter. You want to be upset that the referee didn't call, you could be upset. You don't then get to take matters into your own hands. Warriors are all upset. Kings are all upset. That crowd there in Sacramento, though, holy shit. What an experience, man. Well, and I feel great for those fans because you're waiting around for, it was like 2 years ago in the 21 playoffs of the Panthers and Lightning where it's like, yes, we're finally back in the playoffs. We're really good. And it was like, it was cathartic. You were letting out all of this energy that series. Especially because, oh my God, that first game, and the Panthers lost it, 6-5? It was the best game of that Stanley Cup postseason. But that's what's going on in Sacramento now. There's this cathartic release of energy that those fans are putting out, and I love it. I love it. But we're going to find out now in Game 3. See, I don't want to hear the whole, this series is over. The guys on television, the guys like Stephen A. Smith, they love when a team is up 2-0 and then you say the series is over. Can we wait for both teams to play a home game? Please? Please? Before the series is over? So there might be people who say this series is over. Like I saw the headline on ESPN earlier. Are the Kings exposing the Warriors? The Warriors were a god-awful road team this entire season. The only way they exposed the Warriors is if you had no idea the Warriors are a terrible road team. Pay attention. But we're going to find out now because, yes, the Kings have played well. The Warriors played well this last game until Draymond got ejected. But I think this series is far from over. We're going to find out in Game 3. Are the Kings up 2-0 because they're awesome? or are they up 2-0 because the Warriors cannot win on the road? We don't know yet. If Draymond is suspended, I think the Warriors are going to lose game 3. If he's not suspended, I think we have a long series. I think the Warriors will win both games in San Francisco. But we're going to find out. Are the Kings up 2-0 because they're awesome? Or are they up 2-0 because the Warriors are terrible on the road? But don't give me this series is over bullshit. Here's what we got tonight. Atlanta at Boston at 7. Atlanta's going to sweep that series. Boston's going to sweep that series. New York at Cleveland tonight. Kind of a must-win for Cleveland. I like New York in 7. This is a must-win for Cleveland. You can't go down 0-2 going to the Garden. LA Clippers at Phoenix. Kind of a must-win for Phoenix. We got a lot of drama tonight. Kevin Durant has lost 7 consecutive playoff games. That's right. And after Kevin Durant winning 28 of his last 30 regular season games this year, Nets, Suns combined, previously 8-0 with the Suns, he has now lost 7 consecutive playoff games. Nets, Suns combined. So lots of drama with the two games with the game at 7:30 and the game at 10. Atlanta, Boston is barely worth paying attention to. All right. Hey guys, I got to tell you about Water Cleanup of Florida, and this is the perfect time for me to tell you. Not only are they one of our great sponsors here on ZASLOW Show 2.0, but considering all the weather this past week, and again, it was like the 10 plagues outside again yesterday. Today it looks good, but now is the perfect time to let you know if you have some type of leak in your home or you think you may have a leak, this weather will do it. Well, then you got to call or text Water Cleanup of Florida. You need immediate assistance before not only does the leak get worse, but you may be talking a mold issue. Well, Water Cleanup of Florida has over 60 years of combined experience. Their team, led by my guys, the Greensteins, they are prepared to handle all types of leak detection issues. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And my favorite part, I don't want to have to call all different type of people to come take care of this problem. After the leak has been located and repaired, of course, Water Cleanup of Florida, they're going to clean, dry, and fully restore the damaged areas. That's because Water Cleanup of Florida is fully licensed, insured, and certified to provide the one-stop shopping that all of us busy homeowners and busy business owners require. You don't have to bring in other contractors. They're prepared to handle the entire project from start to finish. The entire Tri-County area, Water Cleanup of Florida has you covered. Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. 954-900-8635, WCUFL.com if you want to go online. Hey, if you're not going to believe me that Water Cleanup of Florida is the best at taking care of any of your leak issues, just go check out their over 80 5-star reviews on Google. Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635. Water Cleanup of Florida, we clean up your schmutz. So we get to the Panthers from last night. All right. I'm not mad about the Panthers last night. I mean, I don't even know that I was annoyed. I don't think that's the best way to put it. I was really upset when they went down 3-1 because I wanted them to have a chance. 2-1. You pull the goalie late. So, when you're the underdog, you're on the road game 1, you got to weather like the first 5-10 minutes of the game, right? Same thing in football, especially the same thing in basketball. The crowd, that team, that record-setting team, you got to weather like the first 5 minutes. Well, the first 5 minutes of the game, the Panthers picked up 2 penalties, and the Bruins scored on one of them. The first penalty looked like bullshit. The second and they killed it off. The second penalty was a really bad penalty that Giovanni Smith took. Bad interference, and they score on it. Easy goal for Pasternak. The first 5 minutes of the game is not the way that you wanted to handle game number 1. You got to weather that storm, and it was a storm, and the Panthers failed in those first 5 minutes. So they're down 1-0. They end up going down 2-0 in the middle of the second period. And that was super annoying because the Panthers are dominating the first 30 minutes of this game. They were dominating the first 30 minutes of the game, and they were down 2-0, which was really frustrating. So there's 2 ways you can look at it. And then shortly after that, Tkachuk scored, beautiful goal, 2-1, back in it, baby. 2-1 after 2 periods, we got a shot here. And what ended up happening was, third period, the Bruins looked like the team that won 65 games in the regular season, and they shut that shit down. The Panthers had hardly any chances in the third period. The Bruins, and by the way, amazing goaltending, and they're really fast. Alex Lyon was sensational last night. It could have been 6-1. Alex Lyon was so good. I'm pretty sure you go with him again in game 2. I think you got to roll with him. Alex Lyon was excellent yesterday. Now, he did give up a soft goal, which leads us to, and we know this, right? The reality is, the Panthers have to play perfect hockey in order to beat this team in any given game this series. They don't play perfect every game, but in order to win, they're going to have to play perfect in those games. And while the Panthers played really well yesterday, they still lost 3-1 because they were not perfect. There's a difference between playing really well and playing perfect. And playing perfect means Giovanni Smith cannot take that penalty. It means Alex Lyon cannot give up that soft second goal to Brad Marchand. And it means that the power play cannot look like the power play from last postseason, which was like 0 of 25 at one point. They have to play perfect hockey. And while they played well last night, it was not perfect hockey. So, now you ask yourself, and you can make the case either way. The Panthers outplayed them for most of the game. They dominated the first 30 minutes and found themselves down 2-0 and then 2-1. You could look at this one of two ways. Matthew Tkachuk after the game, quote, "We can hang with these guys." You could look at it that way because, yeah, they hung with them. They did. Hey, we outplayed them for most of the game. We hung with them. We were right there. It's just one game. It was on the road. We're going to be okay. You could take that attitude. The other attitude you could take, the Panthers outplayed them. Panthers were dominating the game and found themselves down 2-0 still. The Panthers outplayed the Bruins for the most part and still lost 3-1. We're fucked. You can look at it that way too. I think the Panthers, I think you saw how great this Bruins team is where they can outplay you. They can dominate the first 2 periods and you're still down 2-1 because that's how great that team is. That's why you have to play perfect. And perfect is not taking stupid penalties. Perfect is not having an O for power play. And perfect is not giving up a soft goal. Now, I'm not faulting Alex Lyon. He kept the Panthers in the game. I thought he was great yesterday. But he's got to be perfect. And perfect is not giving up that soft second goal. And that's how you lose to the Bruins. So you can look at it both ways. We can hang with these guys. We outplayed them most of the game. We're going to be right there. Or we outplayed them most of the game. We still lost by multiple goals. We're screwed. Considering the attitude of the players after the game, I would guess that Matthew Tkachuk is not the only one who has that attitude. And Goldie referenced this throughout the game. For the Panthers, they didn't weather the storm early on. They got down 1-0. Then they dominated the rest of the first period. That's a great answer. The Panthers got down 2-0. And then they continued to dominate the rest of the second period, cut it to 2-1. The fact that they answered each time, like they looked like they belonged. You can make a case for both. I'm going to take the positive angle. I'm with Tkachuk here. The Panthers showed, they beat them twice in the regular season. The Panthers showed they can hang with these guys. Now, home ice advantage is not like home court advantage in the NBA. It's not the same thing. You can win games on the road, no problem. Ice is the same wherever you are. But the problem with if you go down 0-2 tomorrow night at Boston is a team that just won 65 regular season games, you now have to beat them 4 out of 5. My guess is they have not lost 4 out of 5 all year. So while the series is not over if you go down 0-2, you don't want to be in a spot where you have to win 4 out of 5. And the way that I look at it is going into the series, okay, can the Panthers win one of the first 3 games? Can they go 1-2 in the first 3 games? Because if they win 1 out of the first 3 games, you're in the series. I don't care if it's game 1. I don't care if it's game 2. I don't care if it's game 3. Can you win 1 out of the first 3 games? So, do you think this Panther team can win 33% of their first 3 games? And the reason I say that is because if you go into game 4 on your home ice, needing a win to tie the series, you're in it. So that's the way I look at it. The Panthers have 3 chances. They're 0 for 1 now. But you got 3 chances to win 1. And that means you're in the series. All right. Chance number 1 out the window. Can you win 1 out of the first 3? And I think they can. So that's where we sit as far as the Panthers go right now. Game 2 tomorrow night. I love it though, man. Like the puck was about to drop at the start of the game. And I just turned to my son. I go, all right, 60 minutes of anxiety. Let's do it. Let's do it. I love it. And I'm also, look, the goal's got to be to win, right? But I'm also just grateful. I've been a Panther fan my whole life, man. 30 years. This is season number 30, I believe. 30 years. Although, no, you know what? They had a season that wasn't played because of the lockout, so I guess technically it's season number 29, which will probably be why the franchise not made a big deal out of it being year number 30. Yeah, so I think technically it's season number 29. But 30 years of Panther hockey is what I could say. And we've never had a stretch where they make the playoffs 4 years in a row. So I guess if you want to count the bubble playoffs 4 years in a row, fine, let's do it. This right now is literally the golden age of Panthers hockey. It is. It's kind of pathetic, but it is. So I'm just grateful that teams in the playoffs again, that they're in the playoffs every year. That was the frustrating part, right? When they changed up the style of play where it's like, okay, I understand that style of play is not going to win you playoffs, but can I enjoy the postseason several years in a row for the first time ever? You know, when it looked like they were not going to be a playoff team. That was the part that was the most frustrating. Can I have something year after year before we radically change everything? But I'm just grateful. I really am. I'm grateful that they're back. I'm grateful that they're in the playoffs. I'm grateful that the puck can drop at the start of the game and I can turn to my son and say, all right, 60 minutes of anxiety. Let's do it. All right. So I just told you about water cleanup of Florida. This weather here, terrible the last week. If you got a leak, you got to go to water cleanup of Florida. Well, hey, you got to make sure you got the good insurance too, all right? And that's why I tell you about Brunt Insurance. Brunt Insurance, they've had my homeowner's insurance now for about 10 years. And I keep going back to Greg Brunt and his team at Brunt Insurance and Financial Services because I've never had an issue. I know I get the best rate out there. I know I got the policy that fits my needs. If I want to get on the phone, 954-589-2204, and get Greg Brunt on the phone immediately and ask him a question, just ask him straight up, he's there for me. BruntInsurance.com, from Pensacola to the Keys and beyond, Brunt Insurance, they're going to find the comprehensive insurance that is tailored to exactly what you need. Do you need car insurance? Do you need homeowner's insurance? Boat? Motorcycle? Hey, maybe you don't own your home. Renter's insurance? Condo insurance? You can't just go onto Google and type in, I need insurance. No. The market's confusing. Let Greg Brunt and his team at Brunt Insurance sort it all out for you with their fully licensed staff, and wherever you're calling from, they know the area. So whatever kind of coverage you're looking for, you're going to get the affordable care with the exact policy that you need. BruntInsurance.com, 954-589-2204. Again, 954-589-2204. So, got a couple polls we got to get to. Now, I don't remember if I told you this yesterday. I think I did, actually. Yeah, this happened yesterday morning. So, You know Sheets and Giggles is one of our newest sponsors here on ZASLOW Show 2.0. Love Sheets and Giggles. Well, Sheets and Giggles has been known to send some of the hosts at the shows that they sponsor out to great events. For instance, the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody, my man Colin, founder and CEO of Sheets and Giggles. He sent Greg and Chris to the Final Four. Amazing, right? That was courtesy of Sheets and Giggles. Well, he wants to send someone to Game 3, Heat Bucks. Now, it's like, don't have to get on the bird, don't have to get on a plane here, but he put out a poll yesterday, right? All right, so here was the poll. Now, the poll's closed, all right? But he put out a poll yesterday, and here's what it was. I told you this yesterday. I hope you guys voted for me. The poll was, again, at Sheets Giggles on Twitter. Sheets and Giggles. Which Sheets and Giggles sponsored sports podcast should we send to Bucks Heat Game 3 in Miami? Okay, and here were your choices. Levitard Show, Greg Cody Show, Sports Adjacent, I think that's Jason Leisure, and ZASLOW Show. So cool, right? That I'm part of it. I just love being part of it. So the poll is over now, and the winner with 43% of the vote, Levitard Show. I made a run, though, all right? I'm proud of the ZASLOW Show 2.0 listeners and fans who voted for me. Levitard Show won with 43% of the vote. ZASLOW Show had 33% of the vote. And, Levitard Show is a monster, okay? I was proud. I hung around. But Levitard Show got a late push where they really extended their lead. Now, I don't know what's going to wind up happening because it was then followed up with another tweet from Sheets and Giggles saying they're receiving allegations of a rigged vote. We'll have to look into this. What? I'll tell you, I don't mind not being sent to the game. If the vote is if Colin wants to send one of his shows out to the game, that's terrific. I love being a part of it. I love just having the opportunity. But it's got to be fair. If there's shenanigans. Now, the Levitard Show has stolen stuff from ZASLOW, from my show before, all right? A humiliation pool? The wheel of humiliation? Come on. They've stolen stuff before. Now, if they're also going to rig polls and steal my potential appearance at Game 3 Heat Bucks, I'm very upset. That makes me very upset. So hopefully, if this is true, I obviously trust Colin to look into it. So we'll see. It looks like Levitard Show is going to be going to the game. But maybe Colin finds out that there were shenanigans, and then I get to go to the game. I don't know. We'll see. I can't predict the future. You may be listening to the show. You're listening to the show now in the future. Maybe this situation's already been resolved. I don't know. You're in the future. You have more information than I have when I'm recording today's ZASLOW Show 2.0 on a Tuesday. We'll see. I'll keep you updated. But of course, Sheets and Giggles, one of our favorite sponsors, sheetsgiggles.com. Use my promo code ZASLOW at checkout, and you'll get 20% off your first order. The ZASLOW family, we are just 4 of over 100,000 Americans that are sleeping on Sheets and Giggles. And why is that? You'll see. You order at Sheets and Giggles, sheetsgiggles.com, comforter, bedding, the fitted sheets, pillowcases, eucalyptus pillow, eucalyptus mattress. Super environmentally friendly. You're never going to shop for sheets anywhere ever again. You're going to be a customer for life. That's how good these sheets are. Soft, breathable, my absolute favorite. Sheetsgiggles.com. Again, sheetsgiggles.com. Use my promo code ZASLOW when you check out, 20% off your first order. We have another poll question today. This one is regarding the actual game. So tomorrow night, we know Tyler Hero's out. He's done. 4 to 6 weeks, he's done for the playoffs. Go to @ZASLOW Show. We need you to vote. Today's ZASLOW Show 2.0 poll. Who should start in place of Tyler Hero for Game 2? Here are your choices. Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo. So if you go Caleb Martin, you're essentially moving, we're talking about moving Strus to Hero's position, and Martin goes back to where he started most of the season. And then there's Duncan Robinson or Victor Oladipo. Now remember, Robinson started the third quarter in place of Tyler Hero. And you also have to factor in Coach Spoelstra. He normally likes plucking in a guy who has not been in the rotation into the starting lineup to keep the rotation as close to normal as possible. I think that's why you saw Robinson start the second half as opposed to Caleb Martin. Right now, the leader with 41% of the vote is Victor Oladipo. Robinson right now is 37%. Caleb Martin, 22%. I think Caleb Martin has the least chance of starting because I think the coach wants to keep the rotation as pure as possible. So I think it comes down to Oladipo and Robinson. Now, Oladipo, good defender. And he could have terrible offensive games, but he could also have really good offensive games. Super hit or miss. Very streaky. I personally vote Robinson. You already had the shitty defense with Hero. So putting Robinson in the starting lineup, you're still going to have the shitty defense. But at least with Robinson, you're adding elite three-point shooting, and the defense has to pay a ton of attention to him. That opens things up in the middle for Bam and Jimmy. I think you want Robinson out there to space the floor for you. I think it's super important, and I would seriously consider Robinson starting in place of Hero. I would absolutely go Robinson. So go vote. At ZASLOW Show on Twitter, ZASLOW Show 2.0 poll. Who should start in place of Tyler Hero for Game 2? Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo. Those are your choices. There you have it.